city infrastructure has been neglected for decades in Canada. We've seen over 40 years now of declining investment in cities and communities, and we're behind the eight ball. We face a massive infrastructure deficit that is a huge burden for our cities to compete on the global stage. So investing in our urban infrastructure is crucial to competing in the global economy today. The commitments made to date in Ottawa are a start, but they don't go as far as needed to addressing the infrastructure gap. We face an enormous gap that needs to be addressed in this federal election. Parties need to be putting forward their best case for investment in cities and communities that addresses the dragging economy and the lack of productivity that we can only solve through investing in infrastructure and modernizing our cities to compete. Clearly the tipping point is reached where cities are on the radar and now a key element of this election. It's been said a number of times now that the path to forming the next government runs through Canada's cities, and we need to be sure that all of the parties are putting very strong and realistic commitments to cities in their platforms, and then we hold them to account as the next government is formed.
Well, I think with so much changeover among the big city mayors within the last 2 years, there's a real renewed sense that as we all come to the table, that we have so much in common, and that the common factor is that compared to other G8 and G20 countries, the level of federal involvement in infrastructure investment in our cities is too low and needs to change. And that's been the Federation of Canadian Municipalities' position for a long time, but the big city mayors have taken a particular interest in driving this message home as it relates to transit, which wasn't getting any focus until this year finally. And now it's fair to say, further to the previous question, that $1 billion is now the floor for how to advance big transit spending in our big cities in particular, to break up gridlock and increase productivity. And then likewise, we're going to continue to need to focus especially on housing, because that need in a slower economy, that need is even more severe, and the return on investment and the importance of the return on investment to grow the economy in turn is ever more urgent. And so you're going to see continued advocacy coming out of this highly functional group of 20-some leaders in our country who feel that we need to get attention from all orders of government on these issues, including provinces, but especially Ottawa, which has the majority of the money and at this point is playing the smallest role in building competitive cities in Canada.
Our case is stronger than ever before, and ultimately it's about serving Canadians, building the Canadian economy, ensuring that that Canada remains a great country. You know, that our cities need to be taken care of, and this next election is going to be a key test for the parties. So we expect all of them to step up and to make significant commitments to invest in our cities, and we'll make sure over the weeks to come that we are tracking that very carefully, and that's part of the reason why we want a debate of the national leaders on cities and communities. We think this is now the time for Canadians to be able to hear our national leaders make public commitments to our cities, so we understand what they will deliver in the term ahead.